Okay, so welcome to this latest edition of ABN Cast. With me, Lee Hayhurst. I am the editorial director of Aviation Business News, and I'm here in the ABN Cast studio. I'm joined today by Tye Radcliffe. He is the Senior Vice President of Product and Strategy at Accelya. Welcome, Tye. Thanks for joining us on ABN Cast.
Thank you, Lee. It's a pleasure to be here.
So for this edition of ABN Cast, we're going to talk all about new distribution capability, or NDC. Tye, your favourite subject, I'm sure.
It absolutely is.
So look, Accelya has recently brought out a new product. We'll go into that in a minute. But for those of people who are listening who aren't fully up to speed with NDC and what it all means, give us a very quick potted history of NDC. It's been around a long time. It's meant to point to the future of airline and airline retailing, but just a quick summary of what it is and why we're here today talking about it.
Okay, it's a challenge. You've said a quick summary of NDC, so I'll do my best. NDC, of course, stands for New Distribution Capability. It was an IATA initiative that was launched around 2012 or so. For those of you who are geeks like me, there is an IATA resolution 787, has nothing to do with the aircraft, and resolution 787 sort of encapsulates what NDC is all about. But in a nutshell, NDC is saying, for years we've seen travel agents use green screens, or airline agents, and we've click, 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 computer says no type of thing, right? Yeah. And so NDC is saying, wait, I have a beautiful website, a beautiful mobile app for my airline. Why can't I bring that experience to my customers in whatever channel they shop, be it a corporate booking tool, an online travel agency like Expedia or something of that nature? Why can't the experience be the same, wherever the customer shops, as good as my own website or mobile app? And the answer to that question is because a lot of the technology that we use in the industry today is actually from the 1960s and 70s and 80s. It works, it's fast, it's supporting the industry today. But if you want to do a personalized offer for a customer that's going to see, you can sort of intuit that, wait, it's a family of four going to Orlando in Florida. I wonder if that's a business trip. No. It's not a business trip, right? So I'm going to put products together that make sense for them. It's hard to do that with the legacy messaging that we have today.
Yeah, okay. So it is about modernization, really, isn't it? And probably actually modernizing in a way that brings the airlines up to a level that most of us don't even think about today when we're retailing online. We kind of expect these things to happen, but in the aviation sector, they're not capable of happening yet.
That's absolutely right. And that was for a good reason back in the day. Yeah. If we had thrown millions of shopping requests at airline systems in the early 2000s, it would have shut down the airline systems. So GDSs and other companies had to offload that shopping capability from the airlines so that we could function. Yeah. But in today's world, NDC is saying, let's let the airline answer that shopping question to the best of their ability. And now technology like NDC and other great technology that we've come up with over the years is now allowing that type of thing to happen.
Yeah. I saw on your website, one of the recent posts was a white paper that you produced about NDC, and what the first sort of point you address is the stumbling blocks and why the reasons for the slow uptake of NDC, and this is relevant to what we'll talk about in a minute or two. But what, for your perspective, what has been the reason for the slow uptake of something that, when you describe it in the way you do, it appears to be something that's you expect to come into the industry, but why so slow? Why have the airlines taken so long to really embrace it?
I think first and foremost, there's a fear of change. Way back in 2012, people were saying, "Whoa, what are you all trying to do? What is this madness, if you will?" Yeah. And I think over time, people have come to embrace that this is better for the customer, and what's better for the customer is better for the entire industry. It just took some convincing to get there. I will say that there are commercial pressures and challenges, just the way that the structure of the industry works. Just for those that may not know, if you're an airline, traditionally, you subscribe to a global distribution system. Those global distribution systems are Amadeus, Sabre, Travelport. And so you subscribe to those systems as a supplier so that you can broadcast your content out to these folks in the industry. And as a result, whenever a travel agency makes a booking, you, as an airline, pay money.
Yeah.
And then a piece of that money uh, that you pay to the GDS goes back to the travel agency. And so as airlines are saying, hey, I want to take on that work that you've been doing, global distribution system, I'm going to, support the shopping and the booking and ticketing, et cetera. Then that sort of changes the economics, and people don't like that change necessarily. So that's been a big piece of it. How does the money flow get impacted by NDC? And it's an unknown, and it's still evolving to this day. So I think that's a big piece of it. I think that there is a fear of well, if an airline's going to come up with the price, what does that mean? And I think we've helped to allay that to say, look, the airline wants to put their best foot forward. And so they want to make the best offer they can to the customer in whatever channel they shop. And they know customers shop around,
Yeah.
right? So it's in their best interest to make the best offer that they can. So anyway, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, but I think we've rounded the corner on that, and everyone has said, okay, let's hold hands. NDC is going to happen. Let's find the most efficient way. And to the next point, I guess I would say there are a lot of take the TMCs. I would say that the travel management companies that support big corporations have sort of been the slowest to adopt by and large, and that's because they rely heavily on the GDS for technology. So a booking gets made in the travel management company's GDS. There is a mid-office system that says, okay, let me make sure I'm doing all the reporting, and that works against a thing called a P&R. And because that P&R in and of itself is sort of a legacy concept, we've shoehorned things in with remarks. There's a remark for what the lowest logical fare is. There's a remark for what your traveler approval code is. You name it. It's all based in this P&R. And so decoupling that in the NDC world is a little bit tricky. And so mid-office and back-office accounting, those are some things that we still have some work to do.
Yeah.
And, of course, the booking tools themselves.
Yeah. There's also been an issue, hasn't there, around what you can do with NDC post booking in the sort of servicing of the bookings side of things, which because the GDS world is so mature, it's all there for you and you're used to using it, so you can look after the customers. This is particularly the corporate, I guess, where potentially a lot of changes are made post booking, but there was concern. And actually, in truth, a lot of that ability wasn't available in NDC. Is that now changing? Are we at the point now where NDC can be used by anybody and everybody in the same way as the old system to provide the same sort of customer service?
I think it's fair to say that the servicing capabilities have been available via the NDC APIs themselves for quite a while. But as the GDSs mature in the NDC space, think about it. Their roadmap is, I want to start with presenting the offer, the ability to create the booking, issue the ticket, and then the more complicated things are on their roadmap to complete. Yeah. And some GDSs, I would say, are further ahead than others, but they're all coming along. But that servicing capability, it's not necessarily a limitation of the airline or the API. In some cases, it's just who has done the work so far to integrate with those APIs to make those servicing capabilities available. And I think you'll see a lot more maturity coming in the next several months as everyone is continuing to invest and make progress on their roadmaps.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the latest product offering that you've come up with. I think it was announced last week, FLX Select. So explain what that does in the context of what we just said about where NDC is.
Flex Select is, first and foremost, it's really not a new product per se. Yeah. What we're trying to do is to say, as an airline customer, you can come to us, and instead of us doing a project that lasts more than several months, let's focus on getting something out the door that's proven, solid, and that can work for you to get you on the retailing journey now, right, within 90 days. And that's quite a bold statement, right? Because it's hard to do anything within the airline technology space in 90 days. But we're doing it. And the reason is because we've taken our proven NDC existing product and said, what scope of services and capabilities makes the absolute most sense to bring value to the customer and the airline and the agency that supports them today? And that's what Flex Select is all about. It's making those capabilities available now using our cloud-based capabilities and framework and technology
Yeah.
to stand that up quickly and efficiently. And so we don't necessarily have to say, well, I need in-flight pet pedicures. Well, you know what? If you're not going to sell a lot of those, maybe we should focus on the things that make the most sense and get those out to agencies and customers quickly. And then if you find you need more, then let's take that journey together when it makes sense.
Yeah. So it's about speed, really, because some of this change in technology, as you alluded to earlier, can take a long, long time due to fear, due to whatever, the difficulties of extracting yourself out of legacy tech. But this is about getting you up and running, sort of like in a minimal viable product kind of sense, to get you actually out the door, and then you can start to iterate and build.
You know, we learned from Amazon, they have a term MLP, minimum lovable product.
Okay.
So instead of just viable, we like to say minimum lovable product because we don't want to just have a bare bones capability. Flex Select is offering a truly robust set of capabilities, but it maybe doesn't extend to something that a major network carrier would necessarily require. It's given the capabilities that get you out the door with a solid solution that make your customers happy. But it's for airlines that want to be nimble and get to retailing faster.
Yeah. And when you announced last week, and with a couple of partners on board, Navan and Travel Fusion. So just explain how they're going to be using it.
Sure. That's a great point and question. So Flex Select is not only just for airlines. We are working with agency partners and aggregators to say, if you guys would agree with us that you will implement Flex Select quickly within that 90-day period for airlines that choose to do Flex Select, then that brings the whole ecosystem together. Because otherwise you implement NDC and you get it ready to go, and the agencies say, right, okay, let's crack on. What have you got? Oh, wow, that looks a little bit different than maybe what this other airline did. And oh, that's special. And so then the aggregators get a little frustrated because they're doing things differently, even though two airlines might both use my Accelya NDC technology. It might be different because of the way that the airline has chosen, because they have a unique product or whatever. But the Flex Select promise says, hey, agencies and aggregators, if you come along for this ride with us, Flex Select is going to look a lot more standard for you because of the way it's being rolled out.
Yeah.
And so that gets the airline quicker time to market to get bookings much faster than build it and then the agencies connect.
Yeah. Do you feel, is there a greater sense of urgency at the moment in the aviation sector to get on with this kind of thing? And has that come about as a result of going through COVID for 3 years when the aviation industry was pretty much unable to offer its products and services, and learned very quickly that it needs to be out there doing things better, more efficiently, more effectively? So has that, you think, spurred a degree of need to get this done quickly?
Yeah, I guess this is what I would say. A lot of airlines out in the industry are talking about something called one order.
Yeah. Okay.
And one order is the next logical step that comes after NDC. One order says you have this thing called a passenger name record, a PNR. Why? Why do you have this structure that's so limiting? You have this thing called an e-ticket. A lot of customers don't even realize they still have an e-ticket associated to their booking. Why? And so one order seeks to get rid of a lot of these legacy concepts that are stopping people from innovating. One of the examples I like to give is when we went from paper tickets to electronic tickets, we didn't include a box for bag fees or any other types of fees.
Yeah.
So if you can't collect a fee for something on the ticket itself, you have to have an entirely different credit card charge and a different document. Today we have an electronic miscellaneous document that's sort of a companion to the e-ticket. And you try to explain that to the flying public and their head explodes. Why?
Hmm.
Why have you made this so complicated?
Yeah.
Right? And there's a myriad of reasons. There's revenue accounting, there's departure control systems, there's many reasons why. But the customer doesn't care. They want to have a simplified experience through the whole process. And so one order says, hey, the customer's right. Let's remove these barriers. And so as airlines see other airlines out there getting serious about one order, and we at Accelya certainly are, we are going to provide, and we have now an amazing set of capabilities, largely based on the same capabilities that we have for NDC,
Yeah.
an AWS cloud-based repository that's modern and ready to take airlines on that journey. And so, as airlines say, wait, we haven't even done NDC, and those guys are moving to one order. We've got to catch up. You've got airlines in the industry saying we're getting rid of Edifact and teletype messages, these legacy message concepts,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And a lot of airlines are saying, uh-oh. And remember, there's this thing called the annual general meeting, the AGM at IATA, and many, many airline CEOs from around the world go. And they join together at this IATA meeting, and IATA is reporting out on one order and NDC and what's happening next. And so I think a lot of these CIOs go back home and say, what are we doing in that space? Are we making progress? And so then, people tend to scramble a little bit, or they'll say, remember when I told you about this 10 years ago and you told me we have other important projects? Now it's time to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that awakening is happening. More and more airlines are seeing more than 50% of their indirect volume going through NDC. So I think people are just waking up around the world.
Yeah. Yeah. You've heard a few airlines put dates on when they're going to sunset their old technology. It's quite a brave thing to do with any tech project, because you know how dates operate when you're hoping to get a tech project through the door. But I was at the IATA AGM in Dubai a few weeks ago, and you hear a lot of talk about this. One order is the next step. That's the next IATA sort of buzzword they've thrown into the market. Has the experience of getting NDC approved and accepted, has that laid the foundation for a quicker implementation of the next stage, which is one order? Because it's taken more than 10 years for NDC. It can't surely take another 10 years for the next stage to take place, can it?
Oh, that's a great point, Lee. And I think the answer is absolutely yes. NDC is laying the foundation for the modernization of touch points throughout the industry. Look, any airline right now could start and say, I'm doing one order now. But if the ecosystem isn't there to support them, they're on an island.
Yeah.
And so everybody has to do this together. And NDC is the first step, because once you switch your systems from accepting teletype and Edifact messages, you're now able to accept XML messages. It's an easy transition to JSON messages and other modern message types that we use in today's world. And so I think absolutely NDC is the grease on the skids, if you will, to move the whole industry faster. It's just without doing that modernization step to stop relying on these small Edifact, very restrictive. How do I put a video in an Edifact message? I don't know if you've ever seen an Edifact message, but there's no place to insert a video or anything interesting other than classes of service and, I sold this thing. Or
I've seen the green screens and the language you need to understand to use a green screen, which has always been traditionally been part of the sort of the profession of often travel agents and TMCs, but it clearly doesn't look like the future. It looks like teletext of old, or I don't know what the equivalent in the US was.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, a teletype message is essentially like a well-formatted text message or an SMS that we send back and forth, and we're running the whole industry in some cases on some of this. I don't want to say antiquated because it's working. But it's limiting. Exactly. I think limiting is the right way to say it.
Yeah. I often think we people talk in the industry in these very technical terms, in concepts and ideas, and use a lot of acronyms, and no one outside the industry has any idea what we're talking about. But ultimately, what we are talking about is what the end consumer is going to experience. And sometimes, the best companies, and I know Expedia talk about doing this, is that's where they start. They start with the end customer and work back from there and make the technology do what they want to do for the customer. So, explain for me in your own words what an experience with an airline looks like in a one order, an NDC world that is so much better than what we've had before. I guess what we've seen in recent years is airlines take a product which we knew and understood, which is an airline seat that came with probably some food and some other and a bag, and they've just split that into components and then sold the components, and that feels a bit like they're making more money out of the same product. But in the future, what does it? What does it? Why is this better for the consumer? And what is the consumer experience that we're going to think? That's much better than it used to be, and that's because the industry has got its technology in place.
I once saw a statistic that the average person shops 25 times before they pull the trigger and buy their trip, especially if it's a personal trip.
Yeah.
We as an industry have trained people that you might get a better deal if you keep trying. That's wasteful for people's time. It's wasteful for electricity and resources.
Yeah.
The carbon footprint of shopping, that would be something interesting to measure.
Which no one ever thinks about, to be fair, do they?
Yeah.
It's like magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. We think cryptocurrencies are bad. What about all the shopping that people do and they're not productive if you're taking time out of your life to do this. And so I think one of the promises of NDC is you start to get the best answer for you in whatever channel you're shopping in. Mm-hmm. You start to get the most relevant offer. And think about when, and I have two of these devices listening to me in my home, so I have to be careful not to say their name. Yeah. One of them rhymes with Malexa.
Yeah.
And and so when I say its name and I ask it to help me book a trip, I don't want it to give me 100 answers.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. Look, she listened. She just made a noise. So
it's just booked you a flight.
she might have just done so. So, we have to be careful with thinking about giving the best answer to the customer when they ask, in respect for their time and out of respect for what we know about them. And so if you know that it's a person traveling in a wintertime to a snowy destination by themselves on a Tuesday, that's probably not for fun. It's probably a business trip. And so make offers to them that are relevant to the business trip.
If that initial offer hits the nail, that they're happy with it, they kind of go, fine, I'm done. I don't need to spend the next 3 nights just checking that one, making sure it's the best. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Or, hey, I'm able to in the future give my preferences to some technology, whether it's the airline or their channel of choice. In that channel of choice, you are going to be able to trust that it's going to optimize your trip for you. Yeah. You know what? There was only a middle seat available. Hey, assistant, get me a window seat, please. Okay, well, I'll keep looking for you. And if I don't get it within the X number of days before your flight leaves, then I'm going to ask if you want to switch flights or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Think about the limitless possibilities with AI that's upcoming. And it's hard to integrate AI with legacy capabilities and legacy messages. And I think that's really where we're going. The ability to allow artificial intelligence to influence and help us, it can't be done with the legacy message types.
Yeah.
And further, I think, I've got snowstorms are not going to go away. Thunderstorms are going to get worse, right? We see this coming. And so disruptions are real. And managing disruptions with modern technology is going to be so much better than, I know your flight was leaving tonight. I've rebooked you for next week. I don't need to go next week. I need to go tomorrow, right? And so when your considerations are taking into place, the systems are going to be able to make better recommendations for reaccommodations, and just the whole journey. How nice would it be if you book a trip all the time? It's like, I know you booked this same trip last year. Are you repeating it? I'll try to get you the same thing. Terrific. Do that for me. Save me time. Make my life easier. And that's what One Order is going to do. In addition to that, there's a little bit of a chicken egg in the airline industry. Sometimes you're sitting in the office and you say, I've got a great idea to make customer lives better. And you go to the technology department and they say, can you distribute that through all the channels where customers shop? And you say, well, no, because there's a lot. Okay. I got other stuff to do. Don't talk to me until you can solve for that. And so now that NDC is becoming more real, then when people take those interesting ideas internally to their tech teams and others, I think there's a lot more appetite to say, yeah, you're right. Let's do something innovative and great for customers because now we can actually sell it in all the channels. And some of those were commercial restrictions.
Yeah.
There are some commercial restrictions today that says if you can't sell it through the GDS, then you can't even sell it on your website. That's limiting. And that's the, NDC and One Order help remove those barriers. You can tell I'm passionate about this, so you'll have to stop me.
That's fine. Sometimes you hear this talked about in terms of helping airlines to become more like Amazon, more e-commerce, more digital. And you think, yeah, okay, certainly. But it's very different. You don't quite have that kind of consumer push, because if I need to fly from London to Paris or London to Singapore, I don't have the whole market to shop. There's only a certain number of airlines do that. There's only a certain number of airlines that will do it at the times I want to do it.
That's right.
So it's not like you've got, as a consumer, everybody to choose from, and you'll just drop the provider with the worst offer or the worst customer service. You're kind of limited in terms of your choice. So consumer choice isn't pushing this quite so much. It sort of is, I guess, in a sort of before they know where they need to go, but it's not quite the driver of going onto Amazon and buying a shirt or a pair of socks. You've got the whole market in front of you.
But there's trip customization capabilities, and the airlines, and you've seen this.
Yeah.
It used to be just economy and first class. And then there was economy and business and first class. And now there's economy and premium economy and business. And maybe there's first class, maybe there's not. What's next? I think that airlines are really trying to say, we want to have a product that makes everybody happy as much as possible. And of course, airlines are trying to make money. If they can get a little bit more money out of the person that wants to sit in row 64J to make their trip a little bit better and to make them happier, it's a win-win, because the customer had a better experience and the airline made a little bit more money. So I think as airlines try to differentiate themselves and to offer better products and services, they have to make a business case out of that. And so, hey, if I'm going to invest more in my hard products or my lounges or whatever, then I want to be able to have a business case and get a return on that revenue. And so therefore, I need to be able to market to people so they understand the difference between what I'm offering and what my competitor. What you said basically is they're shopping based on schedules, and you're right, but there's a lot more nuances to come.
Yeah, and they want share of wallet. So if you think about every airline seat that's bought, there's a goodness knows how many other retail experiences happening because they bought that seat. So if you're going on holiday, you'll end up buying all sorts of things for that trip, or even sometimes on a business trip, you'll be buying stuff that you wouldn't have bought had you not been buying that airline ticket. So the airline's thinking, can we tap into this? And then you start to open up a whole world of ancillary additional merchandising opportunities, which clearly would be great for any airline to get into that, and they become more like a retailer of choice of all sorts of different items.
It's a great question. 2 or 3 times a year, someone comes to me and says, so when are you going to put hotel and car segments and limo segments in NDC? And I think we as an industry are thinking through what is the best way to tackle that. Should we tackle that, right? I mean, do people really want to buy their car, hotel, and everything else through the airline? And I think that time will tell. I think you fly on somebody like Ryanair, and they'll sell you anything. You can buy.
They've talked about not giving away the seat for free and then making all their money on the other stuff they'll sell you because you're flying on that aircraft, or even retailing other airlines because they don't fly to certain places. They're talking.
Great point.
They're talking. I think they call themselves the IKEA of airlines, where they'll sell you everything but different products.
Yeah, it's a kind of a fascinating concept, and so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, it's the schedule, it's the right to fly, it's a better seat on board, maybe some meals in certain cases, and duty-free shopping. And then beyond that, where do we go? And so, if the airlines, a lot of airlines have credit card partnerships and hotel partnerships, and I don't think the technology is quite there to allow them to really truly connect with each other in a way that's super meaningful for customers, but it's coming.
Yeah.
And so if, let's say, folks like United and Marriott, who have a really tight partnership, if those two companies decide that they want to have a full end-to-end experience where that the flight was canceled and they were booked in a Marriott property, so therefore you automatically do something for them, or you send a message from Marriott that says, hey, I know your flight was late. I'm holding your room for you. take the stress out of this for me. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Or, hey, I know your flight was canceled and they rebooked you on this flight. And so I've moved your hotel reservation. Click yes to accept. Just all the different types of things that you could see these folks start to do to make life better, or marketing promotions that include bundles right up front. I think the sky's the limit, and it's just going to be what customers have the appetite for.
Before we've got to wrap up now because time's gone. But just before we do, we'll be involved with the T2RL Engage event in London back in September. It's a big opportunity to talk all about this with airlines and marketers and tech companies, etc. What do you expect to be the hot topics there this year? Do you think?
I think one order is definitely going to be one of the hottest topics.
Yeah.
T2RL themselves have been involved in many one order RFP and RFI type of engagements recently. And that's hot. And so I think you're going to see more and more discussion about that. You're going to see airlines talking about their journey with NDC, and at some point it's not going to be NDC, it's just going to be DC distribution capability. It's not new anymore, right? And
it can't be new if it's 12 years old. So.
Yeah, that's right. So I think if you're going to hear from airlines who are on their journey and talk about what's working and what's not. And I think that the TMC and GDS journey will be front and center as well.
Yeah.
The OTAs have fully embraced NDC.
That's been a bit of an interesting development, is that event itself has embraced more of the distribution partners as well and tried to bring them on side. So
that's right.
And reflect their needs, because it's an ecosystem. That's what I think that was the big thing last year, where they talked about it being a collaborative effort, which I think you mentioned before. Everyone's got to move on this. Maybe not at the same speed, but they've all got to move in the same direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Look, Tye, we'll look forward to that, and thanks for joining us on ABN Cast. Good luck with everything, and we'll no doubt see you soon.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lee, and good to see you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Take care.
We're delighted that our friends at Amadeus have agreed to be the launch sponsor for ABN Cast. And while they do not endorse the opinions and views expressed, they are keen to support a new forum for open discussion and debate around the future of aviation. Amadeus's technology powers the global travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, always with an eye on how the industry can evolve, on how the travel industry can better serve travellers, bring people together, explore new experiences, and do business. Travel should be meaningful and personal, and it must be centred around the traveller, which is why Amadeus is investing to create their technology to put more power into people's hands. As an industry, we only progress by working together, and Amadeus's open platform is connecting the entire global travel and hospitality ecosystem. Our environment, our communities, and our destinations matter. Together with our customers and industry partners, Amadeus is working to make travel a force for social and environmental good, and ABN Cast will be placing a specific focus on these themes in future editions. To find out more, visit www.amadeus.com and make sure you subscribe to ABN Cast, which you can do on Aviation Business News' YouTube channel or on Spotify, so you don't miss out on any future edition. And please tell your friends and colleagues all about us. Thanks very much.